Good morning, everyone. Oh, I have missed you. I have missed teaching. I really miss teaching in person. And I really miss even the connection with you through these videos. So I have carved out another new space for me. I am currently living at the Cape, caring for my mom. And Dick and I have essentially moved down here for the time being. So I took apart a room and created a space so that I have a place to practice and a place to maybe share some of these videos with you. So today we're going to do a practice that's pretty gentle. I've had a request for a gentle class, but also a request for hip-centric. So it's going to be a lot of hip work, gentle, deliberate. Today you will need 2 blocks. You will need a strap or a scarf. This is a long one because I'm going to ask you to make something with a loop about the size of your hips, about the width of your hips. If you have an actual yoga strap, again, it's about this wide, about the width of your hips. It doesn't really matter. If it's a scarf or a strap, they work equally the same. You could use the belt of a bathrobe. You could use maybe a men's tie or a couple of men's ties. You be creative. You will also need blocks or books or boxes, whichever you are using. Blocks is preferable, and if you don't have those, you can certainly use a small pillow. If you have an essential oil that you love, just invite yourself to arrive here at the practice and just enjoy the smell of, so this is one of my absolute favorite oils. It's called Breathe, and I feel like it really gives me a uplift. Sometimes I even just put a drop in my hand before practice and just rub it on my hands, breathe it in, and then rub it on my feet so that as I'm practicing, I'm getting that inspiration. I feel like sometimes we need a little bit of an uplift. It is a beautiful sunny day here at the Cape, albeit cold. So today we're going to start laying down. If you have a blanket or a large bath towel or a bath sheet, roll it so it's comfortable for your head. And let's just get started. So laying down with your head on your blanket, just extend your legs out comfortably. And just let your hips roll into the natural orientation that they do. So in most people, when you're laying down, your hips will roll externally, so your toes will point to the outer corners of the lower end of your mat. And so just land here and notice specifically how your hips feel. And then maybe lift one shoulder and then the other shoulder and literally plant your shoulder blades down on the floor. And then letting your hands be either palm down or palms facing up, whichever feels the most comfortable to you. You'll notice if your palms are facing up, you'll notice a little external rotation also to your shoulders. And then just be here just for a moment. And maybe you've been doing a lot of activity, even within just the confines of your house, or maybe taking walks. Or maybe you find that you've been really lazy lately. And so I'm just going to encourage you that whatever it is fine, because we're kind of establishing a new normal now. And so we don't really have a right or a wrong, and certainly yoga doesn't introduce shoulds or shouldn'ts. So whatever you're feeling right now is exactly how you should feel, but try to take whatever level of activity you have, either a slow level or a hyper level, and just find some neutral now and landing on your mat. And finding the connection of your head, your shoulders, your hips, the backs of your legs, your heels, the backs of your hands, all the connections that you have right now to the earth. And just begin to explore your breath, your natural breath, just the way it's happening, rising in and out. And observe if this feels like, oh, I'm back on my mat. Or, I don't really want to do this right now. And I encourage you, if it's the latter, you don't really want to do this right now, I guess you do have the option of just pressing pause and saying, I'll deal with that later. Or maybe it's exactly what you need to do right now. So maybe spend a few minutes and explore. And you may find that your mind catches right up with your body as you begin to move. So don't always dismiss the fact that you don't want to do something. Because we really don't want to do what we're going through right now, but we're doing it. And at the end of the day, I'm sure each of you can find something to be grateful for that happened that day. So begin to breathe now in through your nose more intentionally, receiving a breath in through your nose and feeling that breath infuse your front of your body, raising your belly up. Take that breath as slow and as deep as you can. And then exhaling that breath again right out through your nose, drawing your belly towards your spine, feeling that beginning of a wave happening. And then when you cannot exhale anymore, you will inhale again. And begin that slow wave, feeling your belly rise. And it's always so easy for me to imagine waves when I'm at the Cape, because I actually have access to seeing them and hearing them. And then exhaling. And then once again, inhaling. And exhaling. And then just beginning to move your right knee up into your chest and giving it a little bit of a squeeze. And then releasing it. And then taking your left leg and giving it a little bit of a squeeze. And releasing it. And then grabbing onto your strap or your scarf that I asked you to create. So again, it's about the width of my hips. So if I was to put it here, my arms are down, it drapes over my hips. Bring your right knee into your chest. And instead of just hanging onto it and holding it with your arms, which engages your shoulders and your arms, take your strap, wrap it around. And you'll have two sides of the loops to hold on to. And your arms should be able to drop down onto the mat and relax your shoulders and your arms. So you're giving your knee a tug, but you're really working just with that right hip right now. So you're just holding here, giving it a little pressure. And if you notice, I'm just letting my foot dangle right now. So I'm not really engaging my foot in any way. I'm just letting the plug in of my hip happen here. And my shoulders are completely relaxed here. And all the work is happening in this hip. Now I can begin to make some circles with my right ankle. And then turn around and make some circles in the other direction with that right ankle. And then maybe point and flex. And point and flex. And then slowly let go of that strap. Feel that same plugging in without the strap, without your hands pulling. Gently take the strap and put it behind your knee. So a little bit higher than mid-thigh. Once again, engage by just letting your elbows drop back to the mat. Pull that leg towards you, and then any amount start to stretch that leg out. Now it may straighten and it may not straighten. It's okay, because this is the first real opening of our hamstring that we've done today. So just feel
the sweet spot or get to your sweet spot. But notice if you're feeling like a lot of tension in the top of your chest area. Now you will feel some tightening across your shoulder blade, your collarbones. That makes sense. And as you press your elbows into the floor, you're going to engage that front of your body more. And then just draw that leg any amount towards your head. And then when you get to your sweet spot, again, you're just holding on with your strap. Point and flex. Be mindful that when you point, you're going to wake up your shin. And when you flex, you're going to wake up that calf. Hello, shin. And good morning, calf. Beautiful. Just pause here. Foot can be just any way you want to. And I want you to just take and bring your big toe closer to your nose and let your baby toe be farthest away. So it's kind of like an inward rotation of your foot. So your big toe is coming more towards your head. Notice it's going to target the outside of that calf. It doesn't feel wonderful, but it's really a good stretch. And then the reverse. Press your toe away and bring your baby toe towards your head. So it's just almost like a foot rotation. Your leg isn't rotating, it's just your foot. And then just come to neutral. Once again, relieve the strap, or release the strap. Just place and leave your leg up there, using the strength of your hamstring and your hip all by itself. Now this whole time, your left leg has been extended out, and I'm sorry I forgot to cue that your left heel is pressing into the floor. So you don't want that left leg to be rotating out. You want it to be nice and vertical with your knee facing the ceiling. And now slowly, once again, bring this knee in to your chest and place your foot down on the floor. Take your left hand, and here you might want to just grab a block if you need it. Place the block on the left side of your body. Take your left hand and guide this right leg over, but I want your right shoulder to remain on the floor. So maybe your toe hits, but your knee's not going to get to the floor unless you rotate everything over. And let this right arm extend out. So this hip is getting a great big stretch. And if it's available, you're going to rest your knee on that block. Now your block has 3 levels, so find the level that you can. Just let your knee rest. Your toes already probably dangled and hanging on the floor. And then place your left hand on top, giving it just a little bit of a weight, a little bit of guidance, just stretching that right hip out. Just opening up and feeling the right hip start to stretch. Now just press away your left leg. So it tends to want to soften and your knee bend. Just press away. Feel a little bit equal and opposite. It's almost like you're twisting your whole, it's not almost, you are twisting your whole torso from the waist down and over. Beautiful. And now just roll back over. And then extend your leg out. Notice whether or not you shifted. I don't feel quite even. So sometimes I ask you to divide yourself down the midline left and right. See if you can find yourself in the midline left and right. Let your feet flop out again. Notice if there's any change at all to your right leg. Maybe there's a little bit of tingling. Maybe there's a little bit of fire. So once again, we're going to need to use the strap, and we're going to move the block to this side. But I'm going to move it afterwards so you can follow what I'm doing. So once again, bring your left knee up into your chest. Now this time, be mindful of this right leg, because I didn't cue it last time, to be just not externally rotated. All the time we're working with the left leg. Keep this nice and engaged just by the press of your right heel down on the floor. Gather your knee, give it a great big tug so you're really feeling that hip cut off, and then take your strap once again, or your scarf, drape it over the knee, let your elbows just lay flat on the floor, and give that leg a tug. Feel the tug first before you start to engage any activity with your ankle. So once that feels okay to you, soften it, breathe through into that hip. So you're sending your hips, your breath down into your hips. Start to make circles with your ankles. So in one direction and then in the other direction. And then just let them just dangle there. And again, feel the hip flexion. Maybe you can remember what the other side felt like. Does this side feel softer? Does it feel the same? Usually there's a side that feels different. Like this side for me, I can do a lot more with. I feel like I can really draw it almost to my chest. And then release the strap and just let that leg hold on its own. So you're using its own muscle power, no active, just a passive stretch here. And then just raise your foot up just enough to be able to tuck the strap, again, just below your knee. And let that leg once again dangle down. And you're pulling it. My elbows are straight onto the mat. I am relaxed here in my shoulders. As I am engaging the active pulling of this strap, I am feeling engagement across my chest and my sternum and my collarbones. But that's not the emphasis here. The emphasis is on this hip. And then extend that leg out. So again, you may or may not be able to straighten that leg. That is perfectly okay. This is the first time we've stretched this hamstring. Now don't forget that right leg. Press that right heel down. From here, point your toes and flex. Hello, shin. Good morning, calf. Hello, shin. Good morning, calf. Maybe do some ankle circles because I can't remember if we did them on the other side. It doesn't really matter, just move. But I do remember what we did about bringing our big toe towards our nose and let the baby toe be the furthest part away from us. Activating the side of the foot and the side of your ankle and the side of your leg. And then reverse, let your toe be away and your baby toe come closer, and maybe you're getting a cramp or a spasm like I just did. That's just telling you need to wake up those parts of your foot. Beautiful. And then bend that knee down, release the strap. This time, take your right hand, extend your left arm out, palm facing up. Your left shoulder's remaining on the floor. Drop over to the right. Now this is where I might place a block so my leg has a place to land. My shoulder, my left shoulder is remaining on the floor, and ideally I'm going to look out over that left shoulder. Now if your neck's bothering you today, no need to do that. But when you do that, you're twisting your spine in two directions. Your cervical spine is bending to the left, and your lumbar spine below your waist is going to the right. As I'm pressing with my hand, I'm just giving a gentle press. Don't forget to engage your left leg. Just really make it active. So it starts to soften and get really like lazy. So press it away. Maybe even press away with your heel. So just breathing through here. Then slowly unwind. Extend both legs out long, reposition yourself. Once again, let your legs flop out to the points of the end of your mat. Divide yourself in half again and see if your left and right start to feel equal. So if I was to stand at the bottom of your mat and look up like I do sometimes in class, would you look symmetrical, or would the lower part of you be over to the right or to the left? You know, sometimes I grab your legs and I shake them and that puts you back to neutral. So see if you can find your own neutral. Neutral is extremely important. Getting ourselves back to center, especially in these challenging times, it's really important to be able to find your center, no matter what that looks like. And there are going to be things every day that throw us off, whether it's a news or something that somebody says or something that somebody does that just sends you off. And you've got to be able to get yourself back to center. So bring your right knee up into your chest and your left knee up into your chest, and then rock side to side. Just massaging your low spine. Again, those hips should be a little bit more have a little more ease to bend this tightly. Reach in between. either grab the insides of your ankles, the insides of your heels, or the outsides of your feet, bringing the soles of your feet together, plugging those hips that we just worked with into your hip sockets. And then I like to rock back and forth. Sometimes I even like to lift my hip, my glutes up a little bit more, so I feel like I'm getting more weight on my upper back, and then rock side to side. But I equally like sometimes to just rock and then just come to stillness and just hang here, just for a breath or two, just feeling that my legs are plugging in to the sockets. So just feeling just how nice it just feels to just be here. Just for a moment, and then bring your legs together, drop them back down, and then roll yourselves over, and we're going to come up to a seated position. Now, many of you like to use either a block or a blanket to sit on, and so that, once again, always just helps to tip your hips forward. So the goal is not always to have these knees on the floor, but to have these hips open. So we just had them all closed, so we want to open them up if we can. So once again, grab a block or a pillow or something that you have to work with. And then inhale your arms up into a sun breath and drop away. And inhale up into a sun breath and drop away. Grab onto your block. Inhale, grab onto your block. Hold your block or hold onto a pillow, something that you can just put a little pressure on. Let your head just come neutral so you're like looking at the screen, looking at me. And then lower, press into the block and lower it down. And then bring it all the way up. And lower it back down. Now notice if when you go up, you draw your shoulders up with it. So I don't want you to do this. I want you to just hit your arms and then bring it down, back down. And then one more time, press up. Now hold it with your right hand, drop it down. Place it on its lowest side. Place your hand on it. Raise this left arm up, high, and then lean over. So your hand is in a little different position, your right hand. Look up into a little bitty back bend. Take your hand, drop it behind your head. Press your hand into your head into your hand, and look up towards the ceiling. Breathe, side body bend. Press your left hip down. Keep pressing your left hip down. Beautiful. Release your hand from your head. Press away. Come back up to neutral. Bring both arms overhead. Once again, press into either your block or your pillow. Bring it back down. Explore your shoulders. Make sure they're not rising up towards your ears. One more time, bring it down. Come all the way up. Hold it with your left hand, drop it down, place it on its flat side if you're using a block or a pillow. Reach with your right arm. Get really, really long through the side, pressing down on your right hip energetically, and then tip over to the left. Feeling the stretch happening on the right side of your body. Press your right hip down. Engage your right hip. Engage your right hip. Beautiful. And then look up into a little bitty back bend. Bend that arm. Place your hand behind your head. Press your head into your hand and look up. Try to bring your elbow back. Beautiful. And then come right back. Extend your arm up. Sweep around. Wonderful. Come into hands and knees position. So extend your legs out. And then just shake them out for a moment. And then we're just going to swing around. Get off of my blanket. And come around to hands and knees. So in hands and knees, hands are right below your shoulders. Your knees right below your hips. We're going to flow through a few cats and cows, but engage your feet at the same time. Curl your toes under into cow.
Nice and slow. Cow's so familiar, so you like have a tendency to want to flow through them fast. Probably the most effective thing you can do all day for your spine. As you arch your back, flatten your feet out, press your toenails into the floor, engage your belly, and really round your spine. As you begin to come forward, curl your toes and look forward, draw your shoulder blades together. One more time, flatten your toes, press your toes into the floor, engage your core, arch your back, and then inhale, come forward, and then just come into tabletop here. Engage your belly, step your hands out a little bit further so they're much further away. We're going to sink back our bums so that we're going into puppy pose. So we're just reaching. Now feel your side body. Now engage your hips. So really squeeze your belly. Feel your hips going back, sinking back. Press your toenails into the floor. Engage all of your lower limbs as you're pressing away the front of the mat. Come all the way back up. Shift your weight forward onto those hands. Curl your toes under. Press up into a plank. Hold your plank. So squeeze your shoulder blades together. Engage your back. Get your bellies engaged. Inhale. And exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Drop your knees. Sink back. Toes flat. Sink back once again into puppy. Really reach with your hands, press away with your hands, and let your toes press into the floor. Engage your legs. So just the press of your toenails into the floor engages the whole bottom part of your leg. Your quads are engaged. I can feel my quads here. Scoop your belly. Once again, shift your weight forward. Shift over your hands, squeeze your shoulder blades together, engage, curl those toes under, press up into plank. Hold your plank, inhaling and exhaling. And one more time, inhaling and exhaling. Drop your knees back down, flatten out your feet. Once again, sink back into puppy, but only a little bit. Now drop onto your forearms. So we're on forearms now. Shift your weight forward. Feel your shoulders squeezing together and shift your weight back. So you're like a forearm puppy. So you're not going to be able to go anywhere near back like we do with child's pose. And then shift your weight forward. And shift your weight back. This time, shift your weight forward. Press into, all fingers are nice and wide. Press into your fingers. Now imagine these first little digits are like breaks. Step your foot back, step your back foot back. You're into a forearm plank. So press into your fingertips. So those breaks are not allowing you to go forward anymore. Hold here. Breathe. Breathe, shoulder blades together, press into your breaks of your fingertips, drop in, back to your knees, flatten out your feet, shift back one more time. Next thing, come right back up. Once again, engage your breaks by pressing into your fingertips, and then press your right foot back, your left foot back, you're back into plank. Hold, breathing here. Feel the power that you have. Excellent. One more. Drop onto your knees and then come up once again into plank and up tabletop. Raise your right arm up and extend it and feed it through, thread the needle and drop your head down. Just, hello. And then just reach through here, feeling your shoulder open up and stretch after what we just did. Breathing here. And one more. And on your next inhale, sweep up. On your next exhale, plant your hand. Inhale your left arm up. Exhale, sweep it down. Drop your head down. If it lands, let your shoulders open up
And then just breathe about 3 rounds of breath here, inhaling and exhaling, inhaling and releasing. One more time. On your next inhale, press into your right hand. Inhale your left hand all the way up. And exhale it down. Beautiful. From here, extend your legs, your right leg out long. Press your toes into the floor. So the press of your toes is almost where the rebounding is going to happen. So you're feeling the long length of your hamstring that we lengthened when we were on our backs. Press that leg straight up behind you. Hold it there. So just feel the power from the bottom of your glute, engaging your glute, and then the crease of your glute where your leg and your glute meet, and then all the way down, keeping your foot flexed. Swing that leg over to the left and look out over it. Feel the whole right side of your body moving, stretching, the left side contracting. Use power, press into your right toes, raise it up, level with your glute, sweep it over to the right, plant it, and look. So it's not a fast movement. Come right back up through center, press into your shoulder blades, engage, and then come over to the left. Look over your left shoulder, come back up through center, come over to the right. Come back up through center, and drop it down. So from here, we're going to go into pigeon. So I'm going to turn around for this pigeon just so you can see what my hips are doing. But I could just as easily have shown you on that side. So for pigeon, many of you might like your blanket or you might look like a block. So we just came around from here to here and we're back here. I'm going to slide this leg up. I'm going to slide this leg down. And I want you up high for pigeon here. So these hips are staying neutral. Okay, I have black pants or dark pants on so you can't really see. Now for many of you, you'll need a blanket or something tucked here so you can rest this hip in. If your blanket doesn't go up high enough, you can take a block and just plop it. So this is keeping my hips nice and level. Make your hands wide so they're off your mats on either side. Press into your shoulder blades. And just breathe through here. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Now this time we're going to inhale down. Make it more dynamic and exhale up. Inhale down. Pressing into my fingertips. Exhale up. One more time. Inhale down. Exhale up. Now, if you need the block, keep it there. I'm moving it so you can see what I'm doing. My hands are coming down onto my forearms. Now that might be too much for you and you can't do it, so stay up on your hands. But if you can come down onto your forearms, I'm going to sneak my way down, but when I drop, a lot of people, when they drop down onto their hip, roll over like this. And now my left hip is not level. So here, the ultimate is to get this hip here, but my left and my right hips are still staying parallel. So that's where you can potentially go with pigeon, but for you today, keep the support here unless it's easy for you to drop that hip without rolling over. So I'm on my forearms here. So it's the same Sphinx pose that we were in earlier. Feel the deep hip work that's happening in your right hip here. So just open here. Now on your left, you can be pressing into those toenails so that you are taking the pressure off of your left knee. And my right leg is close to my groin. But I also, when I turn around, I will show you the option that I can move it out to more of a 90-degree angle. If it's available to you, get down even further and maybe have your head on your hands. Stack your hands you have a block, you can make a mountain out of your blanket, whatever works for you. I like to have my third eye, or my wisdom center, right between my my eyebrows, resting on something. So this is a really strong yin posture now. So we're not going to hold as long as we would hold yin, but we want to hold about 5 breaths so that we really get the benefit to that right hip. So just breathe through here. Feel the breath, nice and deep. And send that breath to that right hip so it starts to soften it. And by my count, I have 2 more breaths. And then press yourself up, back into that wide position. And from here, you can just slide this left foot up and around. And you turn yourself back into Baddha Konasana, or turn yourself into Baddha Konasana. So from here, just have your feet nice like a big diamond. And just sit up nice and tall. Don't forget, we haven't forgotten the other side. And so extend your legs out nice and long. We're still working with the right hip. This was the leg that was going forward. Take your left foot, bring it up, and just give it a great big hug. And now take and make a figure 4 out of this left hip over the right. Now my right foot is staying nice and vertical. My kneecap is pointing towards the ceiling, my toes pointing towards the ceiling. This is my figure 4 here. This foot is staying nice and bent. So the angles of my feet are very much right angles. This may be just enough for you to lean forward, hands wide on either side. That may be just enough, and you're saying, okay, my right hip is screaming, my left hip is screaming, what's happening here? Mainly my left hip is working right here. And then begin to just bend any amount. My right foot is pointing up or down. I like it better pointed out. Reach through the hole and just hold. Pull up into your shoulder. Now your left hip is going, hello. Hello, good morning. So just breathe through here. If you want a little bit more, for those of you that can go a little bit deeper, slide that leg up, place it down, hands go in front of your knee. Again, my shoulders aren't rounding, my shoulders are nice and tall. Breathe through here. 2 more breaths. Beautiful. Extend down. Let that leg shake it out. Swing around. We're going to get right back into tabletop. Extend your left leg out. Raise your left leg up. Keep your foot nice and flat. And then bring your leg over to the left. Look out over that left foot. And swing it over and swing it over to the right and look out over. Feel your left side really stretching, your right side condensing. Raise it up, come up slowly through, straight behind you. Swing it over to the left, plant your foot and look down. Bring it up right behind you. Swing it over to the right and look at it. Beautiful. And one more time, come up, swing it around. Leave it right behind you. This time, this is going to be the leg that we come forward through for pigeon. So bring it up, slide your back leg down, lean over, but this is the time that you would grab your blanket or your block. I'm going to get a blue block so that you can see some color difference here. And tuck it. So this keeps my hips even. My foot is very tucked next to my
my groin right now, and my back leg is pressing back. I'm pressing into my back toenails, extending my arms wider than the mat here. So this is more elevated. I'm going to take it away so you can see. So my leg is elevated. It is not flat on the floor at this stage. From here, I'm going to exhale. So I'm going to lean. I'm going to lead with my chest forward. Inhale down. And exhale up. Inhale down. Engage your belly. Exhale up. Inhale down. Exhale up. Now from here, I can lower my hips and still let my hips be level. If you cannot, keep up on that block. But as I level my hips down to the floor, I find it easier for me to work my leg to more of a right angle. So here maybe you can see my toes. It's more of a right angle. But my left hip and my right hip are still even. That's where you can maybe go with this. For today, keep staying up as long as your hips are level. I wish I could see you. Do the best you can. Come down onto your forearms into your sphinx. So just breathing here. So this makes a huge, huge, huge hip stretcher for your left hip. And again, there's no reason that you have to make this leg a right angle. You can definitely keep it closer to your groin. There's no right or wrongs, no shoulds, no shoulds. Just try not to round your shoulders. So I'm really engaging my shoulder blades together. And breathing, I'm pressing into my hands. My hands are wide. Breathing and breathing. And then I'm going to lower myself down onto my forearms. Maybe I'm going to stack fingers, or maybe I'm going to take a block, whatever you need, and place my head on here so that I can stay in this position for 5 breaths without tension forming in my neck. So if I'm doing this and I'm like, oh my God, my neck's hurting, I can't concentrate on the part of the body that we're trying to soften, which is your hips. So give yourself tools to be able to release. So you've heard me say before, in every posture, there's an element of Tadasana and Shavasana. So the Shavasana is my head, my third eye, my ears, my eyes, my throat, my shoulders even. The Tadasana, the work is happening in my hip, across my pelvis. And it doesn't have to be static. There can be a little bit of movement side to side if that feels better for you. Again, if you can soften that hip, this is one of the most powerful hip flexors that you can do, hip exercises that you can do to open it up. So 2 more rounds of breath here. And again, do pigeon to your liking. And if this pigeon is impossible for you, and I did not go into that with some of you that have hip, I know most of you that I practice with regularly can do this. If that is not inaccessible, you continue to breathe. The figure 4 that we were doing sitting, okay, you can do the same thing on the floor. You're just going to create a figure 4, press that leg away, keep your foot flexed, and maybe draw this leg in here. And that can be your wonderful version of pigeon. So I want to make sure that you know that that is perfectly okay as an option if doing this is not good for your hips or your knees or your back or any other thing. So coming up from here, press yourself up. Swing this back leg around. And we're going to turn this back into a diamond shape. Sit up nice and tall. And now this time we're just going to give a little bit of low back, leaning elbows in, leading with my chest so I'm not curving. I'm just leading and breathing. There's a low back stretch here. And now we worked the left hip, and then we came up and we did a figure 4 with the left hip. Because first we had done the right, and then we did the left hip, so we're going to do the same thing. So extend these legs out. Take the right leg, bring it up. Give it a great big hug, tall, sit up tall, shoulders nice and wide. Beautiful. This time take your right leg over your left. Left foot is pointing towards the ceiling. My knee is pointing towards the ceiling. My right foot is flexed. Feel the breath opening up through the chest here. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then reach behind your knee and start to slide this leg up. Now maybe you're saying, forget it, I can't do it. Keep your heel up if that works. And then just stay right here. If that works for you, keep holding here. If you can't even reach through here and you're saying, what does she want me to do? You could even take your long strap and just hold this way. So anything that would help hold you in this shape. And then if that works for you and you want a little bit deeper, you can place that foot down. I kind of cradle, sometimes I even cradle this foot like I'm holding a baby, and then just lean in. So again, my shoulders, you can't really tell with this t-shirt, but your shoulders are back and you're leaning in with your chest. So just lean forward here. Big opening for this right hip. So those of you that asked for a hip program, here we have gentle, strong hip practice. Sometimes I even do that. And especially if you're living alone, give yourself some hugging. Love yourself. Touch yourself. It's perfectly fine. Really lean forward. Beautiful. And then uncross your legs. Give them a shake. And finally, we're going to work our way up. So just swing around. We're just going to come up for a couple of exercises and get back down onto the mat. So lean into your tabletop, hands and legs nicely positioned. Curl your toes and press up into your downward facing dog. Breathe in here. Really letting your wide shoulders open up. Let your head drop so your ears are in between your arms. Bend one knee, bend the other. Keep moving, allowing motion. Beautiful. And then walk your hands towards your feet. Nice forward fold. Inhale, half forward fold. Exhale down. Inhale all the way back up. Inhale, arms up. Hands to heart center. And then walk to the center of your mat. Heel toe your feet out. So heel toe is really this. Point your toes towards the sides of the mat and then sink down into goddess. Nice opening for your hips. So goddess, make sure you're not tipping forward, you're nice and tall, and then press up. Sink down into goddess. And come up. One more time. Sink down into goddess. Beautiful. Now, here's going to be a challenge for those of you that don't like to do squats. So if you can do squats, you're going to go down low. If you can't do squats, stay here and keep doing this. For those that you want to challenge yourself with squats, you're going to continue to come down. So I don't use the block, and I don't need my feet quite that wide. And I'm just going to sit or squat here. Oops, get this block out of the way. Into a squat. If you're saying that is impossible, you have a block that you can land on. And just try to land here, sit in a wide squat. If you can go down to a squat, that's beautiful. Place your hands down in front. Lift up from the squat. And then shake, move side to side. Now if that's too far down, got a block, got a thing. You don't even have to do this. You could be here, just shaking side to side. Just opening up your hips. And then maybe step one leg wider and make this into more of like the equivalent of like a runner's from up high. Those of you that want to get down more to a squat, you can be doing this and this and this, holding it, feeling it, and then coming up, holding it and feeling it. So again, that's the advanced, more advanced, it's not advanced, but that's a more advanced version. And again, if none of that works for you, up and down in Goddess is a beautiful thing. Rising up and sinking down. Rising up and sinking down. Heel toe your feet together. Come to the top of your mat. Inhale up. Exhale, swan dive. Get yourself right back down. And then step back through downward facing dog. Look under your arm, twisting your upper body. Under your right arm. And then come forward and look under your left arm. Come forward. Separate your feet wider. The same look that you did. You look under your right arm. Take your left hand. Grab your right shin. In a little bit of a twist here. And then place that left hand back. Look up under your left arm. Take your right hand to the outside of your left shin. Give yourself a twist. Come right back. Drop down to your knees. For those of you that can roll over, come back down onto your bums. If that doesn't work, just get down onto your bums in any way that you can. Grab a block or a pillow, or if you have a beach blanket, you could fold it in half like this. And we're going to go into a supported bridge. So bring your feet here, hands here, lower, and come up. A little bit of tricep dips, lower, and come up. One more time, lower, come up. Hands reach out in front. Really engage your feet, pressing into the floor. Engage your belly. Engage your shoulder blades, drawing together. Don't fall. Go down one little vertebrae at a time. Arms come overhead. Arms come down by your sides. Scoot your feet a little bit closer. And then press into your feet to raise up your hips. And then lower. Press into your feet. And lower. This time grab onto your block. Only you know which level feels the best for you. Raise up, raise up, raise up, raise up, raise up. Place your block and land your feet. So if you want to engage a little bit more, you can try to go up on your tippy toes and get a higher bridge, but that's not necessary. I just want you to have an inversion for today. So an inversion can be just as successful here because your heart is higher than your brain. So we just want to allow some blood flow going to the brain, changes position. You've heard me say it before. If anyone's golfed with me, you see me hit a bad shot, I'm upside down the next possible moment doing a forward bend. When you have inversions, it changes your attitude. It changes your perspective. So we just did a lot of hip work. Feel the tingling that's happening in your hips just as you're releasing here. And then just breathe a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, you've had enough, press into your feet. Flatten that block to the lowest or your blanket. Bring your knees into your chest and then extend them up towards the ceiling. It was similar
but different to what we did earlier. You don't have a blanket under your head, so you're definitely lower. Now you're allowing all of the valves in your veins to work in their natural direction, only they don't have to work. They're not pushing against gravity, gravity's working with them. So all the beautiful blood flow from your legs is flowing down through your hips that you have just innervated, and they're easy to innervate all your organs, the blood. And I like to sometimes shake my legs, and sometimes I like to make them feel like they're seaweed, and it doesn't matter how I move them. But seaweed doesn't move fast through the ocean. It moves really slowly unless you're in a storm. And so it's just slow. It doesn't matter because seaweed is wiggly. And I have a feeling you may get a lot of metaphors about the ocean since I'm here at the Cape. And it's also my happy place in the world to be at the beach. So I can't think of anything that would be moving slowly like this in a mountain setting if that's your happy place. But you can create whatever makes sense to you. Again, organic movement, no right or wrong. Move my legs out wide, drawing them together, bending them in. Sometimes I bicycle. It's whatever feels lovely to you. And when you've had enough of legs up the wall, draw your knees into your chest and then slowly release your feet down. Lift up your hips. This time, slowly let your bum hit first. So you've created a giant arch underneath your back. And then roll your spine down. Now, extend your legs out one at a time. Take your hands on the mat right above your hips or right about where your buttocks is. And like press down on the mat as if you were trying to extend your spine longer and push your bum towards the bottom of the mat and your spine just gets longer. So it's just a little movement to push the mat away and extend your spine. And then lay into Shavasana. So just feel this lovely release of energy. Go back to where you were. Now in Shavasana, if you prefer to have a blanket, reach down and grab it and place it underneath your head. And I always encourage the use of something to cover your eyes, eye pillows, something that just makes you go inward. And also, if you want to receive the benefits of the practice from within your body, place your palms down. If you'd like to receive the practice, the benefits from whatever the universe has to give you, just have your palms facing up. And just bring yourself into stillness now. And just remain here in Shavasana for several moments. Now, you know that you have the opposite or the opportunity to stop anytime you want, but I totally encourage you to stay in Shavasana for as long as you can. Shavasana is probably the most important. Let me see if I can get you a little bit of music to just stay in Shavasana.
So I want to read you a little something that was published in an article in The Guardian. And the writer of this spent 2 years in prison. And she's sharing what isolation taught her about life. Solitude challenges you to look at things differently. Before prison, my worldview had been rather limited and selfish. I was known to throw terrible tantrums as I tried to bend reality to my will, but peace depended on my bending to reality. Life wasn't all about me. I had to learn what was within my control and what wasn't. I also discovered that time exists in relation to an emotion or an experience, and it slowed or sped according to my ability to be present. So I learned how to flow with it, not rushing nor procrastinating, but fully engaged in whatever was before me. What did that look like? It was as simple as paying attention. I read books carefully. I listened to others deeply. I stopped mindlessly flipping through the channels of my mind. I gave full attention to every activity, no matter how small it might be. Full engagement strengthened my gratitude, and gratitude strengthened my will. So I ask you to slowly begin to move your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, roll yourself over onto your right sides, cradling your head for a moment. And maybe extending one of your legs and pressing up with your hands, come up to a seated position. And then drawing your hands together at heart center, letting your thumbs touch your heart. And then bringing your hands to your forehead for clear and loving thoughts. And your hands to your mouths for clear and loving words. And to your heart space for clear and loving intentions. As always, have gratitude. Gratitude for everything in your lives. I have such gratitude for each of you who practice with me. Namaste. And may you have a safe and beautiful day ahead. Thank you.